Good evening, I'm Cadet Vargas, and today I'm speaking on Hamburger Hill, the movie directed in the 80s. The first thing that I want to address about this film is the teamwork. As soon as the film starts, we're greeted with a scene taking place in Vietnam. Obviously, that's where the whole movie takes place. But we see soldiers conducting a medevac. We see about a group of 8. One group is conducting a 2-man carry on a litter, which is a proper procedure in the medevac. However, one is carrying a soldier in his back, which is effective, granted that it is, a short distance from the helicopter to where they were standing. But it is strenuous on the soldier, and it is also very unsafe because in the beginning of the movie, we clearly hear shots being fired. This means that if you're carrying someone in your back, you have a high silhouette, therefore making yourself a target, and now people can see you and know that there's other soldiers with you. The actions taken were risky, but they still got the job done. After that scene, we see the soldiers and the people that we're going to follow for the rest of the film clearing out water from the trenches and filling up sandbags. There is a system going on. There is slight teamwork. People are carrying the sandbag and people are pouring the sand in the bag, and there is a system where people grab the water, pass the bucket, toss, and bring it right back. However, this doesn't last very long because we see a soldier make a joke about another soldier's love interest, and it brings up a fight amongst all the soldiers, and now everyone stopped working, not making that system effective anymore. This shows no team bonding, lack of respect amongst each other, and using what the 1-minute manager taught me. If I was a leader in that situation, I would quickly address the situation to both soldiers, put them to the side, tell them that they are both wrong. The person that made the joke is wrong for making the joke, and the person that got offended by the joke should have controlled his emotions a little bit better to avoid any altercations. And how would I fix the situation? I would assess both of those soldiers into a task where teamwork and communication is prominent amongst each other. That way, they can be a foundation to be built. That way, we can avoid that situation in the future. Another thing that I want to address about teamwork is a phrase that is said around in the middle of the movie. It is said when an African American body was found after there was shots fired. The phrase is, "It don't mean nothing, not a thing." It is said a lot in that moment, but it's never brought up ever again. But the reason why it stuck with me is because it was only said amongst the African American soldiers, which made me think of the time. It is in Vietnam. Vietnam took place in 1969, which is 5 years after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, where discrimination was made illegal. But just because something is made illegal doesn't mean it still doesn't exist. What this phrase showed to me is that in this moment particularly, no one has your back except people of your own race. No one else said that whenever they had their own moment, which was Specialist Johnson and 2 other soldiers. They were only saying it amongst themselves. No one else joined in. No one else shared sympathy or shared a point of view. So it was just a bonding of their own. And the reason why I include this in the teamwork section is because as the hill is overtaken later on in the movie and the battle is coming to an end, Private Belitsky, the character in the movie, goes to Sergeant French, both 2 white males. And alongside is an African-American soldier, which he is being set at too, and they say that line, "It don't mean nothing, not a thing," because coming to the end of the battle, a lot of lives were lost. Their own comrades, friends, they witnessed them dying and losing limbs, which takes a toll on them. But by them saying this line and by the directors and writers putting this line in, it shows a lot of maturity. a lot of maturity, and proving what the squad has become from the beginning to the end. They're not the same when they first got there, and they all evolved, especially Private Bilitsky. The soldier matured throughout the whole movie in a very quick time span, because if he didn't, he could have died. The first impression we get of him is when Specialist Johnson is addressing hygiene. They're being told to go ahead and brush their teeth and to not do anything unless they are told by him to go ahead and spit or whatever the next instruction was. Private Bilitsky was ignorant to this and decided to spit when that wasn't the instructions. And here we see that Specialist Johnson was a 1-minute manager himself. He saw the flaw. He quickly addressed it to Private Bilitsky, saying that don't be an individual, that's how you get killed. And explained to him why that will get him killed. Even though it is just a spitting of toothpaste, he goes on to say that there is malaria, there's a bunch of diseases that they have never seen, there's a bunch of air that they've never breathed in, and there's a bunch of soil that they've never touched. Which brings up my next subject, the first aid. The prominent time that I remember first aid being brought up was after the calmness of the first firefight. There was a briefing of 5 leaders and the LT, and they are reminded to tell their people to change socks and refill their canteens with clean, approved water. And this is very important because if you go ahead and just refill your canteen from water from a river or from a tree that's dripping down, this is new water. This is water that none of them have drank before, so their immune system is not used to it, which could cause disease, and now there's 1 soldier less in the battlefield, which means that there's less manpower to take on the hill. Same with the socks. If you don't change your socks, you can get a foot infection or foot pain, and if you have either of those, now you don't move as fast and as fluent enough in the terrain that you're presented, which they already have a hard time because it is a forest and a rainforest terrain with very smooth sand that you can fall back on, and you have to really step. That way you can go ahead and get a grip on, which brings up my movement techniques. As I mentioned previously, the jungle terrain makes it hard for the squad to move fluently and without an issue. But a flank formation is still kept, which is a very interesting detail that I noticed, because we see a team leader, which is the sergeant, and then a grenadier, a rifleman, and an automatic rifleman. And as they move on, we see clear commands, clear hand signals too, granted that they are in a mission, so they have to be quiet. We see a good halt and a move hand signs, which was admirable. And during the second battle, which is the final battle, shown at least, we see good 3 or 5 second rushes from the soldiers. No, I'm going to redo that. Movement techniques. As I mentioned previously, the jungle terrain makes it really hard for soldiers to move. Fluently, at least, that is. But we see that that whole squad that we are following throughout the whole movie keeps a flank formation. And that is made of the team leader, a grenadier, the rifleman, and the automatic rifleman. And as they move on and they switch team leaders, we see clear hand signs. We see halt and we see move, which was very interesting and a very small but great detail from the movie. And during the second battle, we also see 3 to 5 second rushes as they are moving up the hill. That could be because either it was raining and they were slipping, or just another detail that was very important and very critical when we actually go to the field. You don't want to stay up too long because then you run the risk of losing your life. After the soldiers conduct their intake at their common area where people usually smoke and go with the natives and kind of have fun, we see them finally arrive to the place where they're going to take on Hamburger Hill. And as soon as they land, you hear the words Red 6, Red 6, Red 1, 6, Charlie, over very fluently, and over the radio you hear red 6 over, meaning that whoever is on the other side, they're ready to engage in this conversation and ready to take notes on what the status is of them landing. And very clear, very loud, very fast, we hear, we got LG secure, negative contact over, letting them know that there was no firefight, there was no issues, and that all soldiers made it there alive, which is a big plus. This battle was very stressful for everyone, especially the new soldiers. One thing that I couldn't help but notice is that the new soldiers, or the people that we were following, they knew what to do with their weapon. They knew how to reload it. They knew when the mag was empty. They knew how to fire. But they didn't have the confidence when handling the weapon. And I say this because in the first battle, we see one soldier just aimlessly firing their weapon and not looking that they are overwhelmed, that they stop firing and cover their ears. I want to say that fear is a natural animal thing to do, so I can't blame him. I've never been in a fully firefight, but military bearing is important, and he should have kept that. And another thing that we see of soldiers not knowing how to use their weapons right, we see an American soldier throw out a grenade. And usually when you throw out a grenade, to let everybody know not to move forward, you say frag out. And this soldier did not do that, running the risk that someone might have gotten hurt. Luckily, no one did by that grenade, but it just shows lack of weapon discipline and weapons knowledge. That will conclude my time. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.